Hi, I'm Erik Linask with TMC, and today I'm very excited to be continuing what's become a very, very popular video series known as the Ingate Knowledge Base. The Ingate Knowledge Base series is where we talk about anything and everything related to SIP, which, as you know, is the Session Initiation Protocol, which is the language or the protocol on which vendors in the communications industry have standardized on as they develop their VoIP products and applications. But of course, as many of you know, SIP can also be used for so much more. And those are the kinds of things that we're here to talk about. Things like security, SIP trunking, and other interesting topics. This video series, in fact, is based upon the Ingate Knowledge Base email newsletters that are put out by Ingate, of course. To sign up for that e-newsletter series, I encourage you to do so. Please send an email to sophia@ingate.com. You can also check out all of the archive videos from the series at Ingate's own website, ingate.com, and of course on the Ingate-sponsored SIP trunking community on TMCnet. Now, it's my pleasure, as I said, to continue this exciting series with Steve Johnson, who's the president of Ingate. Steve, welcome. Thanks again for joining me.
And thank you, Erik.
You know, the first thing that we want to get into today is E-SBCs as a demarcation point in the network. Maybe you can start off by telling me what exactly is a demarcation point and why is it important?
Sure. Well, a demarcation point is really that point in the delivery of a service where the service provider's network ends and the company's network begins. So it's at the edge of the network of the company, and it really represents sort of a handoff from the service provider to the company or vice versa in the transmission of or delivery of session initiation protocol or voice over IP or any of the other services that SIP may actually bring forward to the company. Now, the demarcation point is important because at some point the service provider is handing off this delivery into the customer's local area network. And the service provider wants to know, and frankly the company wants to know, how good the delivery is from one point to the other. So the demarcation point is a very good point at which to place an enterprise session border controller like those available from Ingate, because it can offer some very valuable services to both the company as well as the service provider to be able to identify the quality of what's actually being delivered over that link. So on the Ingate products, we have actually incorporated a number of things that help a service provider to identify and to monitor the service levels that he's delivering to see if they are consistent with the agreements that he's written with those customers. And in fact, we have other capabilities on this product that have proven very valuable, very worthwhile to many people who are looking to isolate problems and resolve them. For example, we can deliver PCAP files that can be used directly with things like Wireshark to actually be able to help customers to identify where problems exist. We have extensive logging, of course, which logs every call. And we also are able to deliver on a call-by-call basis the quality statistics which are developed through analysis of jitter and delay in that call to develop what's known as a mean opinion score or a MOS score that can be used to determine how good the quality really is. Now, one of the things that we've done to make this even more valuable to the customers, whether they're service providers or the end user, is to install in the product a client that can be programmed to make periodic calls, test calls, between our device, the Enterprise Session Border Controller or the Ingate separator, and the PBX on the customer network, and also between the E-SBC from Ingate and the service provider network. And by comparing those two, you can determine where the problems might be, if any, on the link that completes the call from the service provider to the PBX. So we have a number of tools on our device that make it a very valuable and very complete demarcation point in order to isolate and then repair problems if there are any.
So speaking of problems, one of the problems that businesses often encounter are security-related issues.
Yes.
And the demarcation point certainly has security implications as well. Can you talk about that?
Certainly. The E-SBC, the Ingate separator, is again the demarcation point between the service provider network and the company. And just like any other delivery into a company of data traffic, for example, travels through a firewall to protect that network from the outside world and outside forces, the E-SBC serves the same function. So the Ingate separator has a lot of security functions built into it to protect that company from any intrusion, any attempt at denial of service attacks, any attempts at theft of service, and in fact the delivery of any malformed and therefore potentially malicious packets as part of the SIP delivery. So the product is a very essential component that, one, allows the company to place its PBX on the private side of their network, which is a very much desired place for that to be. Like any other server on that network, it should be protected. And then to resolve these problems. And the first thing that the Ingate separator does is to resolve the NAT traversal issue from the outside public network to the inside private network, and masking the inside topology of the network. But then it also incorporates these other security functions to make this the most secure, robust, and healthy implementation of voice over IP that we can make it.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve. We've been talking with Ingate's Steve Johnson as part of this extended knowledge base video series. For more information on these and other SIP and SIP trunking related topics, Ingate has a whole series of exciting white papers you can download. If you go to www.ingate.com/whitepapers.php, they're all there for your perusal. And certainly for all the latest information and news on SIP, SIP trunking, and unified communications, visit the Ingate-sponsored SIP trunking community on TMCnet. Stay tuned for the next edition of this Ingate knowledge-based video series, where Steve and I are going to be talking about monitoring and troubleshooting some of these problems that Steve has referenced today. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Eric.